first, I thought Obama, when he first came in office, was making things better and bringing people together. But my strong belief is he's made it worse, drove people apart.
He's not uniting the citizens to come together and be just one America. He's instead pointing out racial issues. He's pointing out income issues.
The message of the protesters is a message for the establishment every place.
Yeah, there's a type of a class warfare that is taking place.
The focus is on Wall Street and justifiable stuff.
The protesters are giving voice to a more broad-based frustration about how our financial system works.
If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
It has divided the people because there are a lot of people out there that feel, hey, I work very, very hard for what I have, and I don't like people putting their hands in my pocket and telling me that I have to give it to someone else.
And welcome back to this special edition of Hannity. That was another clip from the film The Hope and the Change, and we continue with the men behind the movie, Steve Bannon, Dave Bossie, Pat Goodell. That's interesting, because we keep hearing, Pat, you're a Democrat, class warfare, they doubled down on this.
Well, people are very upset about it. You remember, the thing that these people wanted was to unite the country. They wanted to change the way politics worked. He promised for Democrats independence. We're disappointed. That's a big thing. Let me say something about these people, because this is the business I've been in for a year, going out and talking to people, my people, if you will, and seeing them, is that no one we have a political class, political cognoscenti, we don't talk, we just tell you what those people think. Those voices, what they describe, as you see in this film, how they feel about the country, what they worry about their future, what they're going through in their own lives. There are moments in this when you watch and you sit in these focus groups and we recruited and we talked to these people where I wanted to cry because you realize how poignant, and they all, this is nothing was scripted, nothing was programmed. You could tell that this is the voice of America, and you know what? Other Americans are going to see this and say, my God, that's what I think.
But this is what's extremely profound about the film, and why I say it's the best documentary I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them in the course of my life, is as I watch this, every time we talk about 1 in 6 Americans in poverty, every time we give out statistics, $5 trillion in debt, 25 million underemployed, 15, a million more Americans on food stamps. These are the people that are hurting, suffering, and they're not getting what they were promised.
Listen, the power of this film, I think, comes from the fact that you hear ordinary working Americans, the middle class, the heart and soul of this country, and they are so much more articulate than the political class of both parties and even the media. They understand that our country's in an existential crisis, a financial and economic existential crisis that is destroying America because it's destroying their lives and their children's lives.
Here's what I was wondering, though. I agree, but I get callers to my radio show. I'm almost convinced that if we had Barack Obama on tape, robbing a bank and shooting all the tellers, they'd say, well, that's okay because we got to give the money to the poor. There's some people that have never woken up from that trance state.
That's right.
What?
Well, look, you have the hardcore, and you're always going to have that on both sides. To be
You're the ones that hate Pat Goodell.
Well,
on both sides.
But look, these people are so important, as Pat was saying, to listen to and not talk to. That is the key to November's election, in my opinion.
Yes. You're listening to them, letting them. What this is, I think, for the country, for the voters, as I said, people will identify themselves. We're missing this story. Our media doesn't cover them. We all talk about them. We know about politics. We look at polls and this is how people feel. This is the voice of America. And this is the voice of the people who will decide this election. And it's not the people who call in for Obama or the people you call in because they're totally against it. By the way, not one of these people, we had no discussion in these, and it's important to know this. There's no discussion about Romney, Republicans, or anything. It was all about the journey that they had been on using it.
Because they all bought into it.
All of them. They invested, they voted for it.
But the politics, they bought in, they made a connection because he said he was going to bring the country together and solve the economic crisis. This, I believe, President Obama's and David Axelrod's strategy of division in trying to do the identity politics, at best, if he is to win, it'll be a Pyrrhic victory. Because when you hear these people talk, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to talk about it. They want you to focus on bringing the country country together, and they don't
Problem
want
solve.
Yes, and they want you to
get out of the way in there.
exactly fix the
We're
economy.
going to come back and we'll have more with Steve, David, and Pat coming up after the break. And then later, some of the voters in the film who are brave enough to come forward and tell their stories, they're going to join me right here on set. And they're going to explain why they believe President Obama has failed you, the American people.
The answer or printing.
It's like a spending frenzy there.
Stop spending when you don't have no money. It's just basic.
Responsible, and together we have to restore a sense of responsibility in Washington. We have to do what businesses and families do. We've got to cut out the things we don't need.
There's no eating out. I don't have cable. We don't have a cell phone.
All the extras have been cut out.
No extras.
I have to budget my gas every month.
When we're planning to go anywhere on a weekend, we take into account how far it is, how much gas it's going to be.
My kids, every day want this, want that. I have to say no, and I trying to find creative ways to tell him why he can't have something without saying I can't afford that. It's a struggle every single day.
We've had to make some sacrifices.
I mean, this is the limit. I gotta go by the budget.
Now, if you're a taxpayer concerned about deficits, I want you to understand I'm concerned about deficits too.
I've watched the debt get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it concerns me.
It's a continuation of, as our chairman has said, a budget that unfortunately spends a little bit too much, taxes too much, and borrows too much again.
Well, at the end of the day, he's the chief executive, so the ultimate responsibility of the budget is his.
It would be better doing nothing than if we would actually pass this budget for the sake of our economy, for the sake of our future, and for the sake of jobs.
It's his job to come up with some fiscal plan that makes sense, that not only pays the bills, but helps us pay these debts that we have.
Maybe he just does not quite understand budgets because he hasn't had to live within a budget.
Wow. Welcome back to the special edition of Hannity. And by the way, in a few minutes, I'm going to be joined by some of the voters that you saw in that clip. And we continue in studio with Steve Bannon, Dave Bossie, and Pat Condell. You know what's so amazing? And all of these people, everyone, was a Democrat, independent, voted for Obama.
Every one of them voted for Obama.
Enthusiastically.
Yes.
Every one of them. We got to remind people of this. One of the things that just grabbed me is the crowd size. This very week, Obama's campaign came out and they said, we're trying to limit the crowd sizes. Remember, he launched in Ohio. Half-empty house.
There's a reason for it, John. And what you see, and I think what Steve captured in reading the film. Because remember, they're reminding people what they thought they were getting when they were part of those crowds. They don't want to do that. Look, David Axelrod and David, Mr. Clough, Messina, the Chicago Operation Campaign, they have done millions of dollars of focus groups with these people. What we did is simply duplicate. They know how
bad it is.
Yes. That this is not, as I keep saying, is probably their worst nightmare, is to have those voters saying their disillusionment. Not that he is a socialist, but to say, he promises, we're hurting, he's not helping us. This is a killer.
So you agree that the Obama campaign knows this is how...
That's why, by the way, and see the film, that's why there's no vacation this year. That's why there's no soaring rhetoric. People are tired of hearing the rhetoric. He knows these focus groups. They say, we don't want to hear rhetoric, we want to see action. It's not about
the negativity then, right? Well, how do you explain
that? But this is the danger, I think, for him, because what they decided, because I was involved in the campaign in 1980, which was involved in trying to say, the other guy is Bush. But that's another chapter of my life. But this is the negativity he's doing to divide. That you see these people, you will hear these people on how they feel about the division of the country. I want you to know it works against what he was. That's the danger.
That was the one thing he was able to hang on to.
That was the connection.
Likability. All right. So this is you're gonna unveil this next week in Tampa.
That's right.
And then it's gonna be in theaters.
The following week at the DNC. That's right. We'll be talks. We're gonna show.
You're gonna be showing it at the both.
Right beforehand.
Hey, good luck. I'm not going to that. Anyway.
I know we're gonna be going. We're gonna march this in to the battleground states and cities where the cast is from to put it in some theaters, and then hopefully within the next couple.